Contessa's electrocution computer. When I light yellow, a mild electrical shock will discharge to one of the club members. When I light blue, I will emit a stronger shock to one of you. And when I light red, that is the ultimate. Now the Contessa is ready to throw the final switch that will begin our game of death. Good luck.
Salutations, rotters! Hope you're all doing horrendously. Welcome to the podcast that takes a deep dive into the best worst horror films of the 80s and 90s. I'm Stevie, your VHS veteran. This episode is sponsored by Johnny Coffeen and Joe Oliver. They became sponsors by supporting the show over at patreon.com/Stevie's Brain Rot. If you want to join the Rotters Club, yep, that's what we're calling it, you'll get benefits like merch, exclusive content, and bonus episodes. Actually, this week, we've got a bonus episode dropping where I discuss the truly bizarre 1988 trash fest slasher Cheerleader Camp, aka Bloody Pom Poms, with horror nerd and good friend of mine, Josh Tonks. So yeah, head to patreon.com/Stevie's Brain Rot if you want to get in on the action for just $5 a month. Now then, Night Train to Terror 1985. With horror anthologies proving both popular and lucrative in the early to mid-80s, director J. Schlossberg Cohen had a nifty and cheap idea to gather up 3 existing unreleased and for the most part unfinished independent horror movies and chop them down into segments, weave a tenuous narrative around them and release it as an anthology. Yeah, as you can imagine, the results are somewhat incoherent, and these were created as full-length features, so reducing them down to 20 minutes each leaves us with some pretty loose ends and mental fucking editing, bookended by an 80s pop rock dance group performing interludes. Makes sense? Didn't think so. For the aforementioned reasons, though, it is of course unmissable trash. Riding the train with me this week is someone who is the reason I started listening to horror podcasts. His podcast, The Horror Show, was the first one that I hit subscribe on, and to this day, it's my number 1. Please welcome Sean from The Horror Show. Hello!
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, we were just talking before we started recording, and but also since I've started this podcast in a pandemic, like the conversation with my guests is the same at the beginning of every single episode, where it's like, well, you know, I'm all right, hanging in there, and it's all this shit.
You talked to Stephen Fry.
Yes.
What?
About slugs.
What? That's so insane to me. I could not believe that. When I saw you had that guy on, I was like, Little Big Planet, his voice, his soothing voice on Little Big Planet, talking about slugs. It blew my mind. Yeah. Blew my mind.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, when it comes to podcasting and horror podcasts, yours was the first one I ever came across years ago.
Oh, thank you.
And that was my first foray into horror podcasts. And so I guess you can kind of say you were the inspiration for this. But you, everyone was devastated when you guys stopped and took a break. Yeah. But you are back.
Yes.
I mean, I saw, you know, people were pretty devastated about that.
Yeah, they were mad. They were. Some were like, oh, well, like, because it wasn't like, we're not going to ever be those people that are going to be like, it's our grand farewell episode. So like one day we were just like, we're not having fun right now. So like, let's just end it at this episode. It was literally that day. And a lot of people didn't like that.
No. But yeah, it's how you're feeling. It's what Cher does with her career. Like, she retires every 8 years, I suppose.
And you know, like that I didn't know. Oh, man, it's so weird to put myself back in that position back then. I don't know if I would have said we would have definitely come back. Joe definitely was like, yeah, we'll be back eventually. And I was like, okay, like, whatever you say, buddy. Like, but it did end up being that way. And it's a lot better now. We kind of, we took a step back. We took a step back and we were just like, let's just do what we want to do and talk about whatever we want to talk about. And now it's like a lot more fun.
Yeah. Well, talking about what you want to talk about, but I do remember a few years ago, when it was on a few years ago, how I was a patron, and I got to suggest a film, and I gave you two, Slugs and Cellar Dweller, and you said no to Slugs.
Oh yeah, I did say no to Slugs, but I think it's because we did Slugs on like the creature feature-ish, and like so
that's right.
We had seen it, and like we basically had that big conversation about like you just pour salt on them, like just throw salt.
No one has salt in that entire town.
Like I think that's a pretty. But Cellar Dweller, dude, was, oh my god, I forgot all about it until you just said it, and holy crap, what a choice! That was A+.
Yeah.
And can I tell you that Night Train to Terror, which we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest, never heard of this once in my life. It's not good, but I didn't mind a lot of parts of it.
No. You see, the weird thing is, I had seen it before, but when I was drinking. And so back then, it was like, I remember going, wow, this is a really cool film. I get it. It makes sense. And now as a sober person watching it, I was like, this is a different experience.
You're totally sober.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that on the show for a minute?
Yeah, totally, of course.
When did you do that?
Just over a year ago, actually. Beginning of the pandemic. I'd been up and down, in and out for years, and it just got to the point. I didn't have this sudden mad catalyst. I was just done with it.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I had my fun, and also getting, to mid-30s now, I was at the point where I was like, I don't enjoy it anymore. And also I was always the one that, let's go to the next bar, that guy. So I just had my time with it, and I was done. And now, honestly, my life is ridiculously better.
Yeah.
And also I suffer from bad memory anyway. And so that paired with alcohol, I would never be able to put together a podcast. There's just no way.
My memory is awful. But that's good. I'm super proud of you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That's
really
a great
cool
thing. I always encourage. I took 2 years off of drinking, and I never felt better.
Yeah.
I've since started again.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just know I'm done now. I don't want to get to the point like in a couple of years where I'm like, oh, maybe I can just try some moderate drinking, but because I know what I'm like, and I know I won't. But but I had some great times, but too many bad times. So it was enough for me. So I watched this again sober, and now I don't know if you know this. So basically, this film, they're trying to make an anthology film, aren't they? Because obviously you had Creepshow in 82.
Yes.
So that started off, anthologies are the big thing. And I've done my research. So there's 3 sort of short films within this film. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. The editing is crazy. There are scenes in there that have no relevance to the rest of the film. But I did my research, and they are 3 full feature-length films, right?
Yes.
That have been cut.
Yeah, like they're those like forgotten. There's like a term for it. At least I know of in the U.S. where there's movies that like disappear, like they never get released, they never see the light of day, and there's like one print available somewhere of these like weird movies that people have filmed. And like I think that's what these fucking are. It's insane. It was one of the most. And when you realize that after the fact, you're like, well, that makes a lot more sense, because they tried to take these 3 films, because in an anthology, you're always going to have, the narrative that ties them all together. And it always makes, they're 3 totally different stories, but it'll make sense within the narrative. Right. And in this one, it's so bizarre that it doesn't even work with the narrative. I mean, I don't know. How do you do this? Can we like talk about that right now, or like?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Jump right in there.
So God, so I mean, first of all, we can discuss the dancing and singing breaks. I mean, we can discuss those whenever you want. But it opens with dancing and singing, whatever. And then we find out that our narrative is really about God and the devil.
Mr. Satan,
who, by the way, is credited in the credits not as by his actor name, but by Lucifer. And God is credited as being played by himself. So I don't know.
I didn't know that.
I don't know why they did that. But anyway, so it's God and the devil, and they're like, oh, let's judge some people. They're in a train, by the way. God and the devil are in a locomotive.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've got 3 tales of people. Let's judge them. The problem is the 3 tales, like, they don't judge, like, the people that are in the stories. They're not doing anything. Like, they're not even bad people. I don't think any of the stories are really that bad. And, like, they're like, oh, well, I guess he wasn't that bad, so he'll go to heaven. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck is the point of this movie? Like the first one, the guy did nothing wrong. And Satan's like, well, I guess he's yours. And God's like,
yeah, that's right. Because each segment is the case of someone's
Right.
name. And like, yeah, for instance, so you think it's going to be this terrible person, but the first one, it's a guy who is drugged and used to do someone else's evil bidding. And then they're like, well, I guess heaven for him.
yeah. So it, like, totally takes it away. Because, like, you're like, ooh, it's going to be this mortal, like, oh, the guy does something, and is it good or bad? Like, oh, that would be cool. But it's not that. That guy literally, that guy was also hypnotized by a drug, which was my favorite part of this.
By an injection.
Hypnosis.
It's a hypnotizing injection.
Hypnosis by injection. She's like, I'm going to inject you with, like, hypnotizing serum. And it's the most insane thing. They could have saved a lot of money on props by just doing, real hypnosis and being like, oh, you're hypnotized.
Yeah, quite. Because also the fact that they have to hold up a syringe and go, so by the way, this is hypnosis juice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, dude, my favorite was at the end when he's like, your hypnosis juice wore off. And I'm like, oh okay.
Cool. Well, let's talk about that first one. So it's this guy, what is it called, this one? It's the case of...
the first one is, it's a boy's name.
Harry Billings.
Harry Billings. And now this movie was actually called... The Harry Billings one is... I don't even know. Oh, Harry Billings is Scream Your Head Off.
And it was, that's right, 1981. And this is the only one that apparently was an unfinished film. And it definitely is the most fucking mentally cut segment.
Yeah, it is. It is insanely cut. Dude, so when I rewound the beginning of this story like 3 times, I think it was total. Because I did not... When she injects him with the hypnosis thing... And then all of a sudden it's like, then he was date raping girls. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? I was like, first it opens with him killing his wife.
Oh yeah, in a car crash. Newlywed.
Where she's like, you're driving too fast. And he's literally like plowing into cars and driving. He's not driving fast. He's not driving. Period.
No, he's bouncing the car.
Yeah. So they get married. He drives fast. They die. Well, no, she dies.
Yeah, and he wakes up on a gurney operating table.
And they're like, and he was put into a sanitarium.
That's another thing. There's a narrator. So God and the devil are watching this person's life through the window of the train. It's like a screen. But there's also a narrator. So that means who has God and Satan hired to talk over this person's life? Or is that just for us? Can they hear this?
I mean, I think... So they have that conductor that's constantly next to them that's like, by the way, it's almost dawn. But this isn't him. That's not his voice.
No.
So it's another person that's just hanging out reading them the story that they're watching, I guess.
Yeah, so they put him through electroshock therapy, and also there's these girls that are on gurneys. So he's fully clothed when he's on an operating table. Yes. Girls are always butt naked.
Oh, dude, ass naked. It's insane. By the way, like in any other movie where there's like the option to hide nudity, the woman on the gurney, the strap always goes over the breasts.
Over the nipples, yeah.
That's just a classy thing to do. This one is like right under her boobs. They're propping them up. It's I can't think of the word. It's gratuitous is what it is.
It is gratuitous. There's also, obviously now knowing that this, should have been there's basically whatever this film was, there's an hour cut from it, so they're choosing what they want to put into 20 minutes. There's this bit where randomly this couple knock on the sanitarium door and go, oh, we're looking for a motel, and they get dragged off into different areas.
That's actually a great point, because like I guess I didn't even think about that during this. They had so much they had so much room to cut things, and instead we did get that scene of this couple that comes in, and like we watch a woman have a phone call with somebody who's like, we're lost, and I'm like, what is this? What?
And then she gets dragged into the medical area.
And what we don't, oh well, okay, so oh my god, so for the first like honestly maybe 3/4 of this segment, you don't really know why they're stealing women and like date raping them. Like you would assume that the sexual assault is the big to do of this, but it still made no sense. You're like, why is this happening? And
yeah, because once they've hypnotized him with the injection,
yes.
they also give him handfuls of these pills that if you dissolve in liquid, it will knock someone out for hours. So you get random scenes of him at a bar smiling at a waitress, and then it cuts.
Doesn't he take a girl from a church too?
Yes,
dude. He drugs a woman in church with the wine of like the blood of Christ.
Blood of Christ.
That's fucking incredible. That's fucking incredible. He drugs this girl in church, and he's bringing them to the sanitarium.
Yeah.
Where Bull from Night Court is the like head custodian. I don't know
what these people's titles are.
But it makes no sense, and you're not really sure why they're doing it. They never explain it. They never ever once try to remotely explain it until like the very end, when they're like, and by the way, they're selling the bodies, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's right, because you see this one girl, and this hasn't happened before, but there's a room full of limbs, and she gets chopped up. And then because obviously when they made it, they were like, fuck, does this make any sense? No, you're going to have to get the narrator guy again. So I've written down what he says.
Oh, please.
just so that we know. He goes, bodies for money, bodies for money. The victims were kidnapped, tortured, and finally murdered, and then the evil doctors would sell the body parts to medical schools around the world.
Yeah,
what?
That was my favorite. Because honestly, you were just like, wait, we had not seen, like, I don't know, honestly, I don't know even if we had seen any gore to that point. And then it just cut to the room, and there's fucking limbs everywhere. And it's for horror fans, to me, honestly, the gore was cool. Like, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, actually, all the sort of creature, the proper horror moments in this, no matter how tacky, they all excited me in some way.
I liked them a lot. Like, that was the thing that kept me going. Like, I thought that and the gore in this segment was good enough to carry through a first segment where I was like, this is a little rough. At the end, I was like, fine. This was passable. Let's go.
But this bit, so you have that voiceover, which is like, you think it's rounding it up. It's like, you know, in a Tales from the Crypt, when then he comes on and goes, looks like she couldn't hold on to her head. Yeah. But it's not. It then carries on the film. It's like rounds that bit up. And then there's this whole other bit where he's coming round from the injection. He's like, oh, I want to go straight. I don't want to bring people to you anymore. I'm cutting you off. And then there's an announcement within the sanitarium going, emergency, Harry Billings is missing. And he's not, because the next room she walks into, he stood there.
No, this is also the one. Yeah. And then, so this is also, they like really crammed. By the way, I don't want to jump to the very last segment, but I hated the last segment, and I hated that it was 45 minutes long, and these two were so short.
Yeah.
You could have told a little bit more about this, and I would have been a little bit happier, because they crammed so much into so little at the beginning in this first segment, because then you learn from there that the doctor, and there's two doctors, and they're banging. They're banging and killing and selling bodies, and then she's like, I'm gonna kill you, and then she lobotomizes one of the doctors, the other doctor, so she could fuck Harry, the guy that she has in an injectable hypnosis.
Oh my god.
And then it's just insane. And they somehow cram that into like 7 to 10 minutes. All these reveals.
This whole this whole last section, all this happens, and then Harry ties her up, and then the lobotomized doctor escapes, walks in, and thinks he needs to operate on her, and so he's like, "I need to open you up," and all this shit is going on, and then Harry chops the head off the Night Warden.
Yes,
and then that's it.
And that's the end. And
we're back to God and Satan, as you say, going, what should we do with it?
Yeah, that's what it is. It just ends, and Satan is like, "Isn't that great?" And
God, I think he gets 100 years in purgatory because neither of them know whether he can go to heaven or
that's
hell.
what he is. God's like, "Well, I don't think he belongs in hell." Like, whatever. It's so weird. And they're like, "All right, well, next." Oh, well, another music video that.
Well, yeah, we have to talk about this. So at the beginning and between each segment, there is like an MTV 80s rock pop music video with dancers, smoke machine. This is also happening on the train. Apparently this band is going to Las Vegas. But they're breaking the fourth wall. Like, they're looking directly at the camera. In different cuts, they're wearing different outfits. So it is literally like a music video. It doesn't make any sense.
It's been produced. Yeah, they're not. It's insane. They also... oh, fuck. Well, I'll save it for later. But... the pose the lead singer strikes when, at the end, like when the train crash happens, I'm air quoting there, the pose he strikes is the most like modern dance, like fade the house lights down pose I've ever seen in my life. He's like got his leg under, it's insane. It's one of the most insane things ever. He is extra.
It's incredible. And that, like, if people just don't even want to watch this, they have to seek that out because it is something else. And also, it's actually really welcome because you need and they're singing this song for the entire film. Like, every time we go to them, they're still practicing it.
It's not a different song.
Yeah, it's the same one. And actually, there's one segment where they're not singing it, and it suddenly goes from the top, and it starts again.
Wait, that's amazing. I didn't even pick up on that. That's amazing.
From the top. Dinner's in the dining room, sorting through the news. Mama's at the shopping mall, buying new shoes. Everybody's got something to do. Everybody but you.
I told some of our fans that I was watching this for your show, and they were like,
Yeah.
It's terrible. And listen, it's not good, but like, I don't know, like, I didn't have the worst time.
No, and because it is so batshit. And the thing
insane.
is, like, that first one, I couldn't watch an hour and a half of that.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch that whole
Facts.
film. So that's why they cut it down to 20 minutes.
Facts.
And at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a change. And they sort of palate cleanse us with the dancers. And it's like, okay, here's the next one.
Exactly.
And so this is the case of Greta Connors. Okay, again, she does nothing wrong.
She does nothing wrong, and in the end, actually nothing ends up happening to her, which was like the funniest shit in the world. Like, it's the most dude. Oh my god! And I also swear to God, all these stories, I mean, because they're taken from other movies, they're like, this is the story of Greta Connors, and it's actually the story of Greta Connors' boyfriend more.
Yes, each person that the section is titled on plays such a minor role.
It's so true. It's so fucking true. Like, Harry Billings was like not. I mean, I guess he was the thread, but in this one, not. Greta is like, dude. It opens up and it's like, this is Greta, and then it's like, oh, and by the way, this is the guy that watched Greta's porn, and then we just follow him for the rest of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. So she's a pianist but wants to be in movies. Okay, whatever. She meets this guy at the fun fair and she's selling popcorn.
Yes.
And he goes, I'll buy one. I'll buy another one. I'll buy another one. What do you think? So she drops the popcorn and they go off to be together.
That's it, baby. That's all it takes.
And he promises her big break in film, but he forces her into porn, right?
So at first I was like, oh, like she was forced into like pornography. It kind of felt that way. But she doesn't, she I don't know if she was forced. I think she was just like, maybe this is my jump to stardom.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean,
Because at first I was like, this is kind of fucked up and evil. And then, like, you see the porn video and she's having the time of her life. And I was like, oh, wait, maybe maybe she's just cool with this. I don't know, but
And also, I think with a name like Greta Connors, it just sounds really porny. So I think she's born for it.
she's ready. She's ready to be a star.
Yeah, but then immediately cuts to this guy Glenn, and he's watching one of her pornos with some frat dudes, and he immediately falls in love with her on screen, vows to track her down. So that's a promising start to a beautiful relationship, isn't it? Obsession and stalking.
Yeah, of a porn star. Like, this does not end well. Like, it's like they locked eyes, and they didn't lock eyes. He was just looking at her eyeballs on a screen.
And I don't even think it was her eyeballs he was looking at.
Probably not. And there was also 18 other men in the room that were also looking at her eyeballs. So, yeah. And then they're like, he vows to track her down. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be the story. And then it's like, and then he found her.
Suddenly they're living together. They've got an apartment.
Dude, he's like, he found her at a piano club. And... cuts to her.
Yeah, you think the story's going to be him stalking her and tracking her down.
Not at all. And he goes to the bar and just sits down and drinks, and she's just staring at him from the moment he sits down. And you're like, what is happening? And they fall in love.
Yeah, and then the voiceover comes in and says a line that really threw me, and it says, now our story takes a strange turn. And I was like, well, now it takes a fucking strange turn. Are you serious? And it goes, now we go to the Death Club, an evil society run by George, her ex.
Dude, what is... I mean, listen, it is a strange turn in the sense that why would you even... Why are these two things in a movie? Why did you need to start off with that storyline to get to the Death Club?
100%, because that's what it's all about. And so they've set up this... We don't need her porn backstory. That is so irrelevant.
It's absolutely irrelevant. And actually, like, I mean, it's beyond irrelevant. All you needed was a new couple and her ex-boyfriend. That's insane. And to think was this a feature too? I mean,
yeah, it was cool. I think it was called The Death Club, the actual full feature film.
So like
something like that.
Like, what were they like? Imagine how long that buildup would have been in a full movie. That was probably 30 minutes.
Yeah,
fucking insane.
True.
What the fuck? Like, dude, and Death Club rocks, baby.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with Death Club. So it's all these people who have had near-death experiences who, now, let me get this straight, and correct me if I'm wrong. So they've all had near-death experiences. Yeah. And so they're sort of obsessed with death now, and they gather and test and tempt death in weird ways.
Yes.
So this time, for some reason, both Glenn and Greta are at Death Club because they've been convinced by Greta's ex that they're also hanging out with, whatever.
Yes.
So this first thing they do is they're all sat around a table like it's a seance, and they pull out a Tanzanian death beetle.
Yep, that's it. By the way, that's not a fucking beetle.
No, it's a flying ant. And it's apparently one sting will kill you, and they want to see who will honor with the sting. And so it's a fully terrible claymation on strings.
Yes, absolutely. It is and it's flying around. And the other thing that cracked me up was George the ex. Boy, this guy. He literally. So I mean, it's Death Club. We know what it is. It doesn't take long for us to figure out what it is, and they just tempt fate. But every time they do something, the ex is like, by the way, this is just like Russian roulette. And we're like, yeah, we know. Like. We fucking know. Like, he says it 3 times for the 3 different things. He's like, if you're not familiar with Russian roulette. It's like, you guys are in Death Club. You all know what Russian roulette is. We know what it is. So
yeah, each setup, like, see the empty chair? That's like the empty cartridge in the gun in Russian roulette.
It's just like the barrel of Russian roulette. Yeah, no, we get it, George. That's why we're in Death Club, you fucking jerk. Like...
But the Tanzanian death beetle, it flies out the window anyway, and it finds a couple having sex in a bush, stings the guy in the face, and his face explodes. It's so good, that bit.
I mean, it's insane though, because like the Death Club, the whole point is like to scare each other, and I mean, I guess maybe die, and instead it just flies right out the window and just kills an innocent human being, and they're like, oh, well, whoops. Like,
That's another thing. So we have 3 setups where
Yes.
they basically toy with death, but in 2 of them, a member of Death Club dies each time. So is that a usual thing? Does a member of Death Club usually die? So I don't understand how there are still so many of them if they play
there'd
this
be
like
zero
once a week.
of them. There'd be 0 of them left because they killed 2 in one night, and they were like, "Whoa, that's
Yeah,
That's-
in one gathering.
yeah, that's Death Club." I was like, "Wait, why? What the fuck?" And I do think that is the way it's supposed to be because in the second setup after the beetle,
Is this the machine, the electric machine
the electric robot.
that talks?
Instead of just like, a car battery or something, like
Yeah, they've created
it's like
a high-tech machine.
right, it's like Johnny Five from
Yeah, totally.
whatever.
Short
It's
circuit.
got like eyes and a face, and it's like I'm here to electrocute you, and then and it electrocutes like one of the head guys, and his reaction is, "Excuse me while I smoke." That's just what he.
Oh yeah.
It's just what he says while he die. He is dying, and he's like, "Excuse me while I smoke," and then
Yeah, and he sort of melts and sets on fire.
and again, that gore is like cool. Like I was down with it, man. And he's like, "Oh my god, it was way too long. It was amazing."
Yeah, it stays on it for so long.
Oh.
Just his shaking face.
Absolutely, way too long. So that was the second one.
But then it cuts and Glenn has left, and he's back at his apartment as some dudes arrive and catch him in a net.
But catching him butt ass naked in the act of sex. No, that one I also had to rewind to find out. Wait, why? What? Because they're just like they're spending so much time on scenes that you don't need. And again, like these ones could have been fleshed out. Like you could have given these first 2 like 5 or 10 minutes longer to explain the end for us, because literally they go from Death Club to them being like, and then they captured Glenn and whatever her name is because he's mad. And it's like, wait, why?
Ridiculous. But so then Glenn's taken back to Death Club, and this is the £2,000 demolition ball, isn't it?
The demolition ball that they go into insane detail in explaining how it's gonna work. It's gonna swing around, and every time it swings, it'll cut a little bit more and a little bit more. And I was like, this just seems like they really wanted to kill Glenn or the lady, Greta. They wanted to kill one of them. So they do this, and then it kills somebody else.
Yeah, they kill one of the main women because they all like have to lie in sleeping bags on the floor while this demolition ball swings around.
It was insane, and you could say like if it would have made more sense if they were like Greta and Glenn tried to leave Death Club, and then they were mad, so they had to drag them back to Death Club to finish the club. That would have made way more sense than what they told us, which was like. The ex got mad and was like, well, I'm going to get you. And then didn't get them and let them free.
And also, I just think, like, if he's that serious about it, just fucking shoot them.
Just kill 'em.
Don't set up a demolition ball with your friends, possibly in peril.
Dude.
And one of your friends dies.
Oh my god. And that ball fucking smashes that lady's face. It's insane.
That's a good moment.
It's insane.
I enjoy it.
And then it ends and they're like, and they lived happily ever after.
That's it. Yeah, we're back to God and Satan. You're like,
God and Satan. It cuts to God and Satan after it dies, and then they're like, "So what happened?" Which, by the way, they're like omnipotent beings. Like, just
right.
You tell us, guy. Like, and the conductor's like, "They lived happily ever after and got married," and they're like, "Oh, okay, so not hell again."
Yeah, they decide that she can go to heaven. But what I don't... Also, why are they deciding these people's fates now? And because the fact he says, they lived happily ever after. So when was... are we looking back into the past?
Wait.
Like 30 years ago? What? It does... I don't understand. What. So that isn't even the most recent images of their life. They lived happily ever after.
Okay, so they're just like in the queue for heaven and hell for several years.
Yeah, because this isn't a recent moment of their life, apparently.
Right, because they're still alive. This is so fucking weird. This is the weirdest shit. You could have. There's a way you could have come up with a better narrative than this God Devil thing. Like, this seems very.
So the writer is credited as this guy Philip Jordan, right? And so he only wrote all the linking in between bits. So he wrote in his career like 70 films, although apparently he was like a cover writer for loads of blacklisted McCarthy era writers.
Oh, I did read that. Yeah. So did he really write anything?
Well, exactly. But he did win an Oscar in 1954 for Best Original Screenplay for this film called Broken Lance. So the fact that this Oscar-winning guy has been brought on to link these 3 crazy fucking films, and he's gone, yeah, okay. Well, and actually, to be honest, it's really worthy, isn't it? Like, and the actors playing Satan and God, they fucking Betsy Palmer it. Like, they are in it. Yes. They are doing method acting. They're taking it so seriously.
For sure. And really, like, I mean, if somebody shows up at my door and they're like, hey, we're doing this thing where we took all these shitty movies and we're just doing it to make some cash. Do you want to write the in-betweens? I'd be like, sure. God, the devil, they're grading people.
Yeah, that's it. And it's tenuous. And I don't think he watched the segments or the films, because especially this next one does not make sense, because we'll go into it, but it basically revolves around one of Satan's handymen that after we've watched it, Satan is like, oh, what? No, that's interesting. Like, he didn't know, like, he's watching it for the first time. It's like, hang on, you sent him down to earth to do this.
Yeah, I didn't even put that together. This last one was the worst thing for me. I absolutely hated this. I hated this more than anything in my life. Dude, I don't know what they did. I don't know. Again, like, and this was, I checked because I was like, man, this movie's flying. Like, after the second segment, I knew there was only 3. So I was like, this movie's...
I see. I assumed there were 4 when this one started.
That's what I thought. That's why I checked
too long left.
Because I swore I read 3, and then this one starts, and I was like, is there 4? So I paused it, and it was 45 minutes left, and I was like, wait. And then I looked, and yes, there was only 3 segments. And I was like, are you telling me this last segment is 45 minutes? And by the way, there's plenty of anthologies that have done this before. Like, follow the fucking formula. Like...
Right.
Oh my God.
This is more than double the other 2. And also, if they're taking 45 minutes of a, say, 90-minute existing film, that's choosing half of the film, which seems even more batshit than 20 minutes where you get the best bits. But to literally cut just half. So we get this. And this one, I think, the film that it was originally was 1980 it came out. So it was the earliest one. And you can totally tell it's of a completely different time. Like, they're wearing flares.
Yeah.
The characters.
It's insane. And I could not follow the premise of this whatsoever.
No.
They're like, next up is Claire Hansen. It's midnight, the time of dark dreams. So I'm like, oh shit, that's crazy. And then it's just Nazis. And I was like, wait, what? That's fucking weird. And like, that's a dark dream, but like, when you hear dark dreams in a horror movie, you're thinking creatures and shit.
Yeah.
And it's just Nazis who are like, hey, you didn't meet your quota. And then just fucking blow people away with machine guns. And I'm like,
fucking hell.
It's so weird. And then she wakes up, and then the rest of the movie is about the devil.
Yeah, it's this guy. We find out his name is Olivier, and a 70-year-old Holocaust survivor recognizes him on TV as his aggressor and the Nazi who killed his family. But it doesn't make sense because he's the same age now as he was back at the war. And this story that apparently about Claire Hansen, who's in about 3 scenes, and then it follows so many different people. It follows the police, everyone but Claire.
But Claire.
The Holocaust survivor, the guy, Mr. Weiss, he finds the Nazi guy's house and he walks behind a curtain and there's some demon woman, which I really liked actually, with the red eyes.
I actually liked all the demon special effects. They were all pretty tight for that period. And again, like, I can't believe they didn't release these movies because I feel like, dude, whoever made this movie was the real winner in all of it. As bad as this movie is, he didn't pay a fucking dime for special effects. he was probably like, I'll give you $50 for your movie you never released. And they were probably like, sure, man, fucking take it. We got to make some money back. We got to make some goddamn money back. And so he ends up with these movies with like decent fucking gore and special effects.
Yeah. This, I even like the little moment where, this Nazi guy that we're following. We're also following Claire's husband, who's a Nobel Prize winner.
When they added that, I was like, "What?"
It's like another film starting, yeah. And he, the Nazi guy, like when he takes off his shoes before he tries to bed a girl, he's got hooves, which I really enjoyed. little hairy hooves,
dude. It is insane. It is insane, and the whole story revolves around, they're like, listen, the only way you can kill them is you gotta put a heart in a box. You gotta rip out their heart and put it in a box. And it is a movie.
Not just any box, though. It's a box that is made by the wood from Jesus's crucifix that he was nailed to. And I don't know how they got that verified, that wood, but apparently so.
Yeah, well, how did it get verified? And what does this have to do with, how does this tie back in with the Nazis? Like, why are the Nazis involved in this?
Yeah.
It's insane. It seems so fucking unnecessary.
And there's this ex-monk running around called Mr. Papini trying to warn everyone. And at one point he's in like a fucking lighthouse with a demon. I don't know what's happening.
Mr. Papini, baby.
But there's some cool... well, actually, this is weird. So... when I was watching it, I didn't know it was different films spliced into one. I could have guessed, but I didn't. And so there's this bit where this demon bursts out of the ground. It's all claymation again.
Yes.
And you see, and the people are made out of clay as well. And they look fucking hilarious. But the demon that comes out, it is exactly the same demon as the Tanzanian killer beetle. And I was like, oh, I see they've reused that. But actually it's a different film. Because it's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same.
It's got like the sting.
It's exactly
It's crazy.
the same.
But she I don't get any of it, but the ending, so she does manage to get him onto an operating table, the devil Nazi guy, and takes his heart out, puts it in a box, then he's on hang on, let me get this straight. He's on the operating table with his heart removed.
Correct.
She puts it in the box. He's also at the same time standing next to her as a surgeon, and he smiles at her.
Correct.
And then walks out of the operating room, and that is the end of the film.
Absolutely zero closure. And why are we grading this woman about whether she goes to heaven or hell? She is fighting like Nazi demons. Like, pretty sure that's a heaven. That's a heaven. So no one goes to hell. And every time one of these ends, they're like, yeah, I guess she's going to heaven. And then the devil's like, well, I'll take the other guy then. And it's like, yes.
I'll take the ones that killed people. Cool.
Right. That's who you should be judging.
I don't understand how over millions of years they hadn't already worked out this agreement that he takes the bad people and God takes the good people. Why are they sitting down to discuss this again?
Dude, and the chats that they have in between, like, we didn't even kind of touch on those. They're so dreadful. They're just like, when God is like, would you come back to heaven? And Satan's like, whoa, can I still kill people? And God's like, no. He's like, well, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, why are we having this conversation? He's like, I don't think
they try
can
and
do
have
that.
these real meaningful philosophical
Right.
conversations about good and bad. And basically then also, I don't know if we mentioned, listeners, the train is due to crash in 1 hour.
Oh, yeah.
To kill the band.
1 hour to kill the band, which appears to be Satan's plan. And God's like, why are you doing this? And Satan's like, 'cause I can.
Yeah, I didn't get that either, that why God sat there and he's on the same train, like, cool, this is the one that's crashing, you're going to kill these. I don't understand. But also the devil, they try and get a dig into the Times by going, well, they're all musicians, they always come to me.
Yeah. That it's mentioned that they're on cocaine. And the other thing is, hey, Satan and God, what does it matter if you kill him? Because you're just going to have to put him on trial, I guess, in like a year or two anyway. On this, you're
Right.
just going to be we're going to be watching this on a train, being like, oh,
Yes.
well, I guess they're
And
not
we've
that
seen
bad.
And we've seen how indecisive you are about this.
Yeah, like, I guess they're good. I guess they should go to heaven. Oh, cool. Oh my god! If heaven and hell is like that, like I'll be devastated. If I have to just
Right.
wait in line for like a year, and then they're like, "Well, I guess he's good." I'm like, "Oh, all right, cool, thanks."
We do get the model trade then. I mean,
Oh my god, dude, that would fucking blew my mind. That fucking blew my mind. I think that is the best representation of
the entire movie.
yeah, of how little they gave a shit, and how they just amassed these 3 movies and put them together, and they didn't really totally fucking care about the narrative, and they were like, yeah, just film a model train.
And it literally ends with them having this agreement where it's like, okay, Satan, you get the dictators and the rich people, which is one of my favorites. Just all rich
Just
people.
all rich
so if
people.
you're over a certain tax bracket, you're going to hell for doing well in life, and then God will take the children and the sick people. What's that about?
Those are the only categories of human beings on Earth. It's just
Yes, rich, dictator, sick, or child.
yes, that's it. That's fucking it. So the rest of us will go to purgatory for 100
Or
years.
all of us poor, healthy people.
Yeah, we just go to fucking purgatory for the rest of our lives.
That's Terror Train to... What is it? I don't even know the title.
Terror, no, Night Train
Terror.
to Terror. Boy, this
AKA Cataclysm, AKA The Death Wish Club, AKA Scream Your Head Off.
yeah, and even those movies. Did you notice those movies had like 4 nicknames apiece? I like, what the fuck, dude? Death
I
Wish
have
Club.
to read them out.
Okay, yeah, you do it.
So Cataclysm, also known as The Nightmare Never Ends, Satan's Supper. Death Wish Club, AKA The Dark Side of Love, Carnival of Fools, Greta. Scream Your Head Off. Oh no, that's just unfinished.
Unfinished. But who is that also known to as? Because they weren't released. So who knows them by other names? It's like, oh, the guy that like held on to the reels just called them various other names.
Just this one guy.
Just this one guy we bought it from.
Yeah, also known as.
He was like, yeah, sometimes I call this the dark side of love. Guy's like, oh, okay.
Cool, we'll put that in the credits.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks. Dude, that's all it was. Dude, the model train was like the best. Because there's a close-up of the train, and I was like, oh, that looks like a model train. But it was like so close up that I was like, no, I think that's a real train. I was like, they wouldn't do that. And then they did it like 2 seconds later. They just showed an actual model train.
It's fucking great. That's it. What are your overarching thoughts of Night Train to Terror?
Here's what I'm going to say. I don't... Oh, boy. Would I recommend somebody watch it? Probably not. But, like, at the same time, maybe... I don't know. This one's an in-betweener for me. Because, like, honestly, I didn't mind it. It was just that last story just fucking derailed it and just, like, slowed it down. Because the first ones were snappy. I mean, they made no fucking sense. But the gore was cool and it was insane. And it was nuts. And you were just like, what is happening? But then this last one happens and you're just like, dude, this is too much. Like you said, 45 minutes is half of a movie. Like, and they chose to do, like, a full, like, 25 minutes of, like, build up and like backstory, and you're like, I don't care about this at all. Like,
No,
it's insane.
Yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, with the way they've done it, you just don't have time to give a shit about anything or anyone in this. And the thing is, what I will say about this movie is, I think only watch it if you want to talk about it. I wouldn't like sit down and go, oh, what should I watch tonight for myself? It's like, watch it so that you can discuss it, but don't watch it if you just want to get another film on your list.
That's a great way to put it. Like, I always struggle to come up with an idea, like, of how to phrase that. But that's the way. If you want to talk about it with somebody, watch it. That's also seen it. Because don't try to explain this to somebody that's never seen it. They'll never talk to you again.
I'm going to lose so many listeners.
Absolutely never speak to you again. But that's a great way to put it. Otherwise, don't ever watch this. But it's not like, as a horror fan, like, I don't know, like, a lot of people, like I told you, like, a bunch of our fans were like, it's the worst and blah blah blah. And like, I was like, oh, I don't think it's the worst. I think I've seen worse.
Yeah. The thing is, you have to judge it in sort of 3 sections as a whole is impossible because because of that third one isn't so bad it's good. It's just bad, boring, and fucking useless.
Yeah.
And the other 2 have so many elements of so bad it's good that as a whole you can't really judge it as one film.
Truly. And if you really think about it, if you chop up that last one into another 25-minute one or a 20-minute one, and there's a fourth one, it would be nuts. It would be insane because I don't know how they would tell that Nazi monster story. It would be nuts. It would be like Nazis, and then it would jump so fast to the monsters. You'd have no fucking idea what's going on. It would be beautiful. It would be insane. It would be insane. And I think it would have worked a little bit better cut to 22 minutes and then have another segment. They could just pay a little extra money, make that 4th segment. You got yourself a hit, baby.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for doing that and watching it.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad
Thank you.
that I picked you. And also I'm so glad you hadn't seen it because I was like, fucking hell, these are the sort of films that, I love when you cover. And I was like, I bet I'm going to find it really hard to find a film you haven't covered. And when I said it, you were like, I don't think I've done that.
Dude,
so
I've
perfect.
never even heard of this. Like, you said it, and I was like, wait, is he talking about that, what's that fucking movie?
Terror Train?
Terror Train. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, I was done that. I was like, is that what he's talking about? And then I looked it up, and I was like, dude, the first picture I think that came up was the picture of the band, the dancers and the singer. And I was like, what the fuck? I've never seen this in my life. This is insanity. This is insane.
Amazing.
Yeah,
well,
man.
listen, dude, thank you so much. And just for the people at home, just let them know where they can find you in the show.
Oh, sure. You can find us on Instagram at I Hate Horror, and that's really it. Just find us on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you, Steve, and I
oh, mate.
Boy, I just like you a lot. You're a good guy, and I'm so happy that you're doing well and feeling healthy and happy, and we're gonna get through this. We'll do it together or something.
Yeah.
Wait, can we sing? What did all the celebrities sing? Imagine there. What's that song? John Lennon?
Oh, the John Lennon.
Yeah.
Imagine there. Yeah. I thought you were about to ask if we could sing the song from the film.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Everybody but you.
Dance with me. Dance with me.
Dance with me.
Everybody's got something to do. Everybody but you. Come on and dance with me, dance with me. Dance with me, dance with me. Come on and dance with me, dance with me. Dance with me, dance with me. Everybody's got something to do. Everybody but
That's what we'll do as our very late COVID bring people together song.
Yeah, everyone. That's really fucking brilliant. Well, on that, mate, that's a perfect place to leave it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And this train terminates here. Get off. Thanks a million to Sean for joining me and helping me try to make sense out of what is honestly one of the strangest sober experiences I've ever had. If you'd like to discuss this further, then join our Facebook group at facebook.com/brainrotpod, where you can meet fellow rotters and have a trash off. On Twitter and Letterboxd, it's Stevie's Brain Rot. On Instagram, it's BrainRotPod. I'm sorry, they're all different, but some weren't available. Or you can email me. The address is steviesbrainrot@gmail.com. Please send nudes. Okay, once again, if you'd like to get access to our bonus episodes, go to patreon.com/steviesbrainrot. Join us again next week, fuckers. Toodles!